Welcome everyone to the Magical Frequency. On today's video, a little bit of a different setup. I am in my dining room and I am going to be talking about this French website that has really cool graphics about quantum, and it is called Tout est Quantique. I don't know if I have pronounced that right. I feel like once we talk through this, everyone will have a better understanding of how to create in this reality. I'm going to be featuring in this specific video the wave particle duality. I don't know if that's the one I was pointing at the entire time, but that's the one we're going to be looking at today. They do have a French and English version of this, so make sure to click English. This is their experiment that basically is showing us what it means when the particle is being blasted through the two slits. Particles are sent on two slits. Particles touch the screen randomly, and that's what you're seeing on the other end of that first experiment. Then they send it through as a wave. A wave is sent on two slits, which make it interfere. This results in fringes on the screen. So let's see what that ends up looking like when it's sent through like that. Ends up looking pretty uniform across the screen. A quantum object is sent on two slits. It suddenly reduces into a particle when touching the screen and is more likely at the position where the wave was more intense. That seems pretty logical, right, when you're looking at it. So then we're going to add now the observer. I like this video specifically because it shows you the eyeball observing the experiment. This is where I wanted to talk to it. For measures through which slit the wave goes, and the wave reduces and goes only through one of the two slits now. No interference can occur anymore, so no fringes appear on the screen. The observer has modified the experiment. When there's a wave or a particle or a quantum event, whatever you want to say, being sent through, and the moment we add that observer, the moment in our reality where we are starting to be able to mold what is going to be showing on the screen in the simulation. So for example, of all of these things being shot out as thoughts, think of all of those being shot out as actions. So if you think about that, let's just think about these are all thoughts, like thoughts of wanting to become a millionaire. You observe that thought and you impose right here, this is where it would be happening. If you impose something, whether it's a negative or a positive feeling over it, like say that you're looking, and this is where the negative and positive feeling or whatever comes in. If you're observing it, and it could just be thoughts. So if you have thoughts passing through and you don't accept or believe or validate or have any feelings, thoughts, anything towards them, very extremely like neutral, like don't care, like they're just going to pass through, right? And then if you have thoughts of, example, wanting to become a millionaire, you are going to observe those thoughts. If you observe those thoughts with doubt or negativity, what you end up seeing on the screen over here are the doubts and negativity that you have placed over that thought here. So that thought is now coming into the existence of reality. This could further prevent you from taking actions that would lead you to your aligned future. And you're getting whatever it is that you are observing. You can think of this as essentially your brain, your mind, your projector. But remember to clarify, we are everything. So whatever you believe is truth will be truth for you. But I'm trying to explain this from a very logical perspective, just for fun, because I enjoy these concepts and ideas. I'm a pretty firm believer that we create our own realities and we are all a piece of God. We all have connections to infinite source. We are infinite source. This is the simulation. These are our avatars that we come down here to play and have fun in this simulated environment. And what I'm doing here on this channel is trying to logically try to explain this. I tend to learn very well through the modality of teaching. So I love to come on to YouTube and create videos regarding the subject matter, because oftentimes this is something that people don't like to dive deep on. I enjoy getting into the nitty gritty of things like this. All that to say, this is just me attempting to logically explain how your thoughts, actions, whatever, end up working in the simulation, and how it is just possible that all these things could be potentials for you. What ends up happening is that you're observing these thoughts, actions, whatever, and they create whatever frequency and emit that out to the screen, if you will. Like the simulation now interpret all of these due to the actual action of observation that you have placed over your thoughts. So if you have thoughts and you observe them, and then you believe that these thoughts are true, and then you act on these thoughts, shift, and you will see, especially over time. I'm not saying that, for example, you have negative thoughts this one time, these thoughts are coming through and they're negative. For me, what seems to be a compound or snowball effect. You have to be on a consistent ride of being negative, and usually you can see this. I don't think what I'm saying is absurd. You can look around at negative people's lives, or you can look around at very positive people's lives. Usually it is very indicative if their inner state is in a state of, peace and wellness and happiness. Usually their outer state reflects this. And I believe it is because of this principle. So when you observe all of the thoughts and whatever actions and frequencies and whatever comes through the projector, how it starts to shift. And the simulation starts to, in this phase, when you're observing right here, this moment right here is when it is starting to mold the matrix reality around it. So the moment your mind, and I mean mind in the sense that it's like your brain, yes, but this is your mind giving out thoughts, and then could be any actions maybe that you're taking, or just anything that you're truly observing isn't relative to certain things. Like this could be numbers on a board, and I think there's been even studies where people have stared at computers and had certain thoughts, and the computer behaved in certain ways. There was something like this. I could be making that up, but I swore I read that. So there's change, but it's very on a quantum level here. This isn't something that is easily understood when we first talk about it. It creates a lot of cognitive dissonance for people, because it's like, how the hell is it possible that I'm having these thoughts and that I'm the observer, but I'm also the box producing the thoughts, but yet I'm also the screen. So we just have to think about this, because if you observe your thoughts in a way with positivity, and I don't mean like happiness, I mean like possibilities, that whatever these thoughts are, if you want them to go your way, they will, if you keep observing them in such a fashion. So for example, the other day I did a video about pricing different construction jobs. When I would take the moment to have this thought emit of how much that construction job could be, and then I'm observing it, this job could be $10,000. This job could be $20,000. The act of understanding and observing all possibilities in here. So when your thoughts are coming in, observing them with the understanding that all possibilities are possible, all avenues can occur. Not only that this many avenues can occur, that all avenues can occur. So if you are constantly in observation of your thoughts, thinking like, so for example, if you have P and you are throwing out thoughts of My SP no longer wants to be with me. And you observe that with truth, that will start to show and display with truth here. Okay, so what you're thinking in these thoughts, and then on top of that, the actions. If you take actions like, I'm going to text this person, but they're not going to, and you're going to respond and you're going to observe it and have the thoughts of, that person is, even though I'm going to take this action of texting this person, they are not going to respond. If you have that inner belief, the screen will show then no response. Keep going with these examples. If you have thoughts and you are emitting projections in your mind, if you have, let's say these are stories, because these could be stories also that you're telling yourself. This could be, I never am lucky. And if you're observing those stories, like you're telling a story about, you're trying to get a house, or you're trying to get an SP, or you're trying to get a new career path, and the story that you keep telling yourself is one that you don't obtain, and you observe that and create a belief of this will continue to project out here that you will not receive SP, you will not receive house, you will not receive career. And it's all in the constant observatory act of this. And it's very difficult to take that in at first, because it's like, oh, what do I have to watch every little thing that I do and say and thinking? Yes and no. I wouldn't say to be obsessive with it, but I would say that you do feel your emotions, but you don't carry these frequencies or make them your prime resonant frequency, especially when it comes to anything that you want to happen. This is the screen of reality here. This is what you want coming down into your 3D. You want the relationship, you want the money, you want the fame, you want the career, you want the, whatever it is, it's all here, right? So this is the matrix, this is the simulation, this is the projector, the hologram showing you, imagine this as your movie screen, and this is your life, and what you see on this screen here is what your life is playing out of. You are the main character of that show, and when you are watching, observing over that reality, if you are constantly in observation of that reality going in ways that you don't want it to go, you will continuously send that out. That will then take hold in these forms, and you will be sending that out right here. These thoughts, actions, feelings, stories, visualizations. So if you partake in the action of visualization, you are visualizing a scene, you are observing over that scene, and then you're creating that belief through that scene, depending on what kind of scene you're creating. You observe something and you understand and know, and let's not think that belief has to be this one size fits all. It's a knowing, it's an understanding, it's just a feeling, it's being connected, understanding you create your reality. So when you're observing whatever those specific things are that you want to play out, you have to observe them in such a way where there are possibilities, and you have to observe them in the way that you want the possibility to go. And sometimes people do not understand the possibilities. There was a YouTuber that I used to watch that would always say, what you don't know is what you don't know, and what you don't know is a lot. Very much so true to this. If you think that there's only one possibility for you, could be pigeonholing yourself into that reality. Instead, you would want to observe things. What it needs to be positive is not to have a happy emotion thought over things. And like, I get why this would be the case, why people think this all the time. What it is seeing the possibilities, seeing that there is an infinite amount of possibilities that can be observed over these thoughts, feelings, visualizations, whatever it is, all the things that you're emitting from your avatar, from your consciousness, or, your subconscious, your mind eye, whatever you want to call it. All the thoughts, actions, frequencies, everything that you're admitting, you're observing them in such a way that things work out for you, or you're saying that whatever it is, like, so for example, the parking lot example is a really easy one. Parking all the time at the beach when it could be completely crowded. I do this. I say in my mind, so in my mind, I will create the thought, I'm going to have a parking literally next to the beach. It'll be the thought, and then I'll observe over the thought. I know that I always get my parking. Like, that's it. Like, that's the observation, is that there's endless parkings by the beach. Like, I know somebody soon is going to pull out. I'm observing that thought and then seeing all the possibilities. Somebody's going to pull out. Somebody is going to offer me a parking spot because they know that I want it. And that happens. I pull right up. Are you leaving? Yes, you can park. And then I wait for 2 seconds. The people pull right out, and I had beachside parking. I did not have to walk but like 2 seconds to the entrance. And this happens for me all the time. And how I do it is saying that same thing. So I'm emitting from my projector. I could do it in a multitude of ways as well. I can sometimes visualize somebody pulling out of a space. I can visualize an empty spot behind somebody's car that somebody's not recognizing. I can visualize that there's going to be a whole mass of people leaving at the same time, and I'm just going to have spaces that open up. Seeing, understanding that there's an endless amount of possibilities, and then observing the possibility in the way that you want it to go over and over again. That parking lot situation, I will continue to say, I'm going to find a parking right next to the beach, and I'm going to continue to visualize and say that and create the actions as well, because while I'm doing this, I'm in observation of driving to certain areas, and your reticular activating system will kick on in the simulation and will then send you to a parking spot that has opened, because what you have done now is you have shifted the simulation here by that frequent thought over and over again. Action, me driving to the spot. Action, me thinking about the parking. Action, me observing the endless possibilities of their opening up a parking spot exactly where I need it. And then right here is where the simulation's like, oh, Bob doesn't need that parking anymore. Bob moves right out. Was Bob even there? Was Bob's car even in existence? So at that point, then you see the parking spot shows up. That is a very simplistic way to talk about it. It's below. I could do a completely new video just on this visual alone of observing your thoughts and then seeing how the frequent observation and persistence of seeing all of the possibilities, and then taking, another thing would be actions and then decisions. The decision of me turning into a certain spot in my car. Understanding that the reticular activating system can help you make those decisions and gear you towards the avenues that you need to go down to consistently shift your stimulation, if you will. So that's how, in my opinion, this all is really working. It takes practice to consistently keep thoughts that are quote unquote positive, but that means thoughts that are constantly in a way that you want them to go, instead of going into fight or flight, because most of us do that. That is the tendency of the brain. Instead of going into fight or flight, you own the fact that you know that you have God bodiness in the simulation, and that's first and foremost. Know that there are an infinite amount of possibilities, and that you need to just observe the possibility that you want to happen over and over again, on top of creating any thoughts, actions, or decisions around that specific thing. Like, as simple as finding a parking spot. It works for me every time. And it sounds silly, but you can do this with everything in your life. It's not just parking spots. You manifest a new career, an SB. You can do this act that we just spoke upon to shift anything in your simulated environment that we are now in, and you will be able to have it play out for you on the screen of life. I do truly believe. I think that this whole idea of inserting an observer, it proves, because in the double split experiment, you can see that there is an active change happening. And this can be easily translated into a very like higher way of viewing things. This is a very quantum thing, but we can't see thoughts. We can't see those maybe vibrations all the time that we're emitting to the simulation. Just like we have a hard time seeing at this level that these things are actually occurring at a quantum level. I know everybody enjoyed this video because there is nothing else quite like it on the internets. And I know you will all continue to manifest magic and resonate on your highest frequency. Bye, guys. Love you all.